Everyone say it with me. Fantasy football is fun.
I suffer from a debilitating condition known as atropic chokitis.
Peter's one of the greatest depositors I've ever seen.
Trust the process. Let's go. Let's go.
I got auto match with Levitan. This is bullshit.
If I just go the other way in that 66, I win all the money. All the money.
If I had 150 lineups, I'd win too.
Process over results.
Illuminati make a bitch go crazy. I don't know which one of these my baby. Bust out AP, coach 5 bullets in your head like KD. Bust it, bitch go bust it. And I had 10 pints with me in Russia.
Hey everyone.
Sorry, I already poured like half of it before the video ended. I love this. Cash Charles, this comment was sent at 9:15 a.m. Cash Charles woke up and he said, let me go to Pete's stream 45 minutes before it starts because I was right that Davis Mills was a better play than Mike Glennon. I hope you won all the money yesterday, Cash Charles, with all of your Davis Mills. Davis Mills to Brandon Cooks. I assume you're a millionaire today. Congratulations on all of the money, Cash Charles. The problem is, Willis, I've been wearing this hoodie now for 2 days straight. I wore it all yesterday. And then, it was one of those days where you roll out of bed and you're like, could I put on something different? Sure. Will I? No, I did not. How are we doing, guys? Yesterday was a weird day for me DFS wise because I ate shit on the main slate. If you guys tuned into the tilt space, you guys probably saw that. But then I had a nice little, I think we call it a bink, nice play second bink in Showdown. Last night, I had a lot of lineups that played that game as a very low scoring defense heavy battle. And I finished second to my dear friend, Brick75, aka Brian Hooper, who I do lulls with. It was actually a pretty good sweat. I was in first for a lot of the game, but I had a Leonard Fournette captain. He had a Saints defense captain. Leonard Fournette, of course, left the game. And then Saints defense had, I believe it was a sack that pushed him over the edge. I still got incredibly lucky to hold on to second because I basically was fading everything. I couldn't have anything. I couldn't have field goals. I couldn't have Gronk get another catch. I couldn't have any more Saints defensive production. And that game just basically screeched to a halt. So that ended up being a nice win for me. Shout out to the Sims. We will be back tonight I'll do a showdown cram for the Vikings Bears game, and then not going to do a showdown cram for the earlier one, but I'll post the leverage plays in the Discord for those of you looking to double up on showdown on this nice double Monday Night Football header that we have going on tonight. Win punters in showdown. I don't know. Maybe once DraftKings starts collabing with NFL All Day, they'll realize that punters are how you get the fans excited. What's up, J Mike? How we doing, buddy? No, I'm doing good. I'm riding high after it was nice to have. It was a really pure sweat that I had last night in Showdown. I haven't had one of those in a while where I'm just hanging on every single play. I've had some main slate, sweats where you're bouncing around on red zone, hoping stuff happens, but that just staring at a single game and wanting very specific things to happen. I got caught up in that last night, and I haven't had that in a while. So we're doing good. It was definitely a nice bankroll booster after bleeding some money on these main slates recently. Yes, I do it. What's Davis Mills started doing? What did he even finish with? How many fantasy points did Davis Mills finish with? So he had what? Brandon Cooks had 2 touchdowns. Davis Mills, 209 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. So the Davis Mills victory laps are about what? 8-6. What what did he have? Like 13 points? Is that what we're victory lapping today? It was that kind of a slate. I was doing the write up for the Fantasy Life newsletter, recapping all those games, and it was brutal, absolutely brutal. Just reviewing how poor those performances were. I'll start pulling up some of my lineups. I of course did have a Tyler Huntley lineup that I ended up pivoting off of because it included Devontae Adams, and I could tell he was going to be mega chalk, and I didn't think that was my best path to winning a contest after a poor 1 p.m. slate. But that is just how it goes, guys. Peter, do these tough main slates question why you play DFS? No. No, I love it. As much as I have, that period of tilt that we all have on Sundays, whether that extends for, an hour or two, whether that extends for, the entire main slate, I get excited every single week to update my spreadsheets, look at projections, look at ownership, see what people are talking about, start to put together the puzzle pieces of the next slate. And I know it can be somewhat of a cliche to be like, oh, process over results. But I truly, when you have a GPP mindset, and this was kind of something we were talking about with JM to Win on Friday. The question we're always asking ourselves is, what is our best path to first place in these tournaments? And when you're playing through that prism, you have to know that there are going to be lots of losing weeks, because the question we're asking isn't what is our best path to cashing? What is the friendliest loss we can take? And yesterday, without a doubt, our easiest path to winning tournaments was fading chalk like James Robinson and Devontae Parker. No doubt. I have no doubt that that's the case. And sure, you can make arguments of, hey, I played super contrarian everywhere else. I used those pieces. I even saw Crane shared a couple of his lineups in super small field, and he had, a Devontae Parker sprinkled in there as well. So I'm not saying, oh, you're a donkey if you played those plays. But the point I'm trying to make here is do I get discouraged, by a gross day like that yesterday? No, I was actually very, more so than usual. I felt really good at lock, just with how my lineups looked, how it was leveraging chalk. And you make some of those concentrated bets where it's like the field is going to try to outpredict you by playing the best points per dollar plays. I'm going to lean into correlation, some of these contrarian plays, other spots. Yesterday ended up not being the day that worked out. Tennessee, Pittsburgh, where I made some bets on mini correlations. Denver, Cincinnati, where I made some bets on that. None of those hit. There was no, game correlation that was going to take you there. You were really having to hit all of the individual best plays on the slate. And that's always going to be hard to do. So to circle back to your question, no, I do not, get discouraged about DFS. If anything, I get energized because I want more slates like this. I think if this slate plays out 10 times, 2 to 3 times that chalk fails, and a lot of the other leverage spots are pushing our lineups up to the top of the leaderboard. So no, I love DFS. I have lots of fun with it. And again, we've also talked about this. If you are so discouraged by a single slate, or you feel so sick to your stomach about a single slate, you are either A, playing above your means and above your bankroll, or 2, you're not building lineups in a way or through a long enough time horizon where you have the confidence to be able to win first place. So I think it's a mental thing and a bankroll thing if that week demoralized you more so than usual. This is a good point, Tyler. The Milli Maker lineup I saw was actually a pretty sharp lineup. I know he had like the Christian Kirk, Amon-Ra, St. Brown correlation. Obviously, I think he had Huntley to Andrews with Adams in it. And then he had Foreman and Jeff Wilson, who are both just good running back plays. So yeah, that lineup was smart, but it wasn't, full on game correlations. it was still hitting kind of the skinnies and the minis and then getting all those pieces to come together. Oh yeah. And then Cooks and Texans D. Yeah. The Huntley and Andrews stuff was, I ended up getting off of Andrews. And as I was talking it through on the tilt space, obviously that was a mistake. I loved the Huntley play. We were talking about it yesterday. My mistake was I had a Huntley MVS Adams pairing. And basically once the Stephon Diggs ownership came in real low, and I can pull up this first lineup here in the Big Spy, Diggs was only 9% here. And once Diggs came in at 9%, it was pretty clear that Devontae Adams was going to be super, super popular. So I'll show that other Huntley team in a sec, but I decided I needed to blow it up because I didn't want to eat Adams chalk. Obviously, I wish I would have thought through some other configurations where maybe I go Huntley to Andrews with Ayuk as opposed to Huntley, Adams, MVS, something to get off of Adams, but not blow up the Huntley stuff that I liked. On the other hand, at that point, if you're fading the Adams chalk, you're kind of hoping that game fails too. So I'm not going to beat myself up too much for getting off of that, but congratulations to everyone who stayed on the Huntley Andrews stuff. I thought that looked really good. Just looking at ceiling projections at tight end. I mean, it was Kittle and Gesicki at the top, and they were both going to command a ton of ownership. And then after that, it was Mark Andrews. I mean, Mark Andrews was really the only other guy there that had a realistic shot at, that 30+ point output. I guess you could say Kyle Pitts, but we just haven't seen that in forever. So this was my main lineup. This was a lineup I felt really good about when I submitted it, and I felt even better about it when I saw these percentages. I was pretty shocked at this Josh Allen and Diggs ownership here. I mean, Allen and Diggs were literally in optimal lineups. And I was building this thinking, Allen's 15%, Diggs is 20%, but saying like, okay, I'll get unique because I know not a lot of people are going to play Singletary. I know Visca isn't going to be super popular. I think tossing Knox into the stack will be a little bit unique. So I knew I could get unique around the highest ceiling stack. So I was so stoked when I saw Allen at 8.3%, Diggs at 9.2. I mean, on a slate where we were starved for ceiling, I mean, Leone had Diggs as the highest projected ceiling wide receiver on the slate. And there was salary to get up to him at 7,700, and people just waved it at 9.2%. So yeah, from a process standpoint, very happy with that. In this spy, I did go with kind of more of a Bills onslaught. And normally in the spy with 4,000 entries, I'm probably not onslaughting like this, but I basically thought of Singletary almost as like the punt tight end that you toss into a stack where it's like tight ends generally so gross, just correlate with the quarterback. I felt that way about running back this week. Running back so gross, I'll just toss Singletary into this stack. And on top of that, all of the totals were so low on the slate, like outside of the team totals for the Bills and the Cardinals, there was not a lot of projected points. So I thought leaning into a spot where one of these teams could put up a crooked number and then trying to capture as many points from that as possible, what gave me, the best chance to win. So I feel pretty good about this Bill stack. It didn't quite get there because Gabe Davis had 2 of the touchdowns and he was obviously not in my lineup. That was the piece of, Bill's stack chalk that I was avoiding. But for the most part, I was happy with it. And, going back to trying to identify, which game has a wider range of outcomes with the totals, it obviously ended up being that Packers-Ravens game. We get a 31-30 game. Huntley gets plays well enough to kind of push the Packers. And so everything kind of gets home there. But yeah, happy with this. Shenault ended up playing him as a one-off. I mean, I joked about playing him yesterday. But I was expecting him around 5 to 6%. Very happy to get Shenault here at 1.8%. No regrets on that. Did have the Donta Foreman, Chase Claypool mini. Foreman did his job Foreman was really close to an even bigger day. I know that first drive of the game, he got hurt on that first carry, and then he wasn't in for that goal line series, so that hurt, not picking up a touchdown there. And then Ryan Tannehill had a QB sneak as well. So he had a couple opportunities there to score more. Chase Claypool, just an absolute flop there. Bummed about that. I thought that set up nice for him in this game. And then what other play? And then, then just heading to the 4 p.m. games, I had Jerry Jeudy in here, 3%, Packers D, who I got up to at 5%. None of those plays hit. But yes, the texture of this lineup, I was happy with. You guys, everyone comes in here with the one call they got right. I need you guys to write down, if you want to be DFS thought leaders, you need to put it out in a tweet. You need to say all your calls, who you're playing, who you're fading. You're mad at me because I've skipped over Duke Johnson mention on one. I'm sorry I didn't see Duke Johnson coming. Everyone's a thought leader today. Joshua says, is it worrisome when your cumulative ownership comes in way under what you thought after lock? I had a lineup with 57% cumulative own when it was projected for 80. No, I'm fist pumping when that happens. I guess I'm trying to see what the concern would be. I guess your concern is like the market knows something that you don't. No, I was very happy with that. And I think you're excited, right? Ownership is bad. We are trying to avoid it. We are trying, the goal of the game is to score as many points in unique ways. In a perfect world, our plays, we would be the only ones in the world who would have them on our roster. So anytime the plays we get on, because the projections or the correlation or the game environment or whatever reasons we like plays, when those come in less popular than we want, that's a fist pump. So yeah, I don't think you have to be worried ever about your cumulative ownership being less than what was projected. And oftentimes too, that can be because you're kind of reading the room, you're feeling the steam, and you're able to kind of get off of stuff that might come in more popular at the last second. Because we've certainly had those days where I'm reviewing my lineups, like last week. What was it? The CeeDee Lamb at 23%. That was just made me sick to my stomach, because I was staring at him at 7 to 8%. So that's where I feel like I made a mistake. But when these guys come under, no, we're dancing. So you say it still makes me feel like I galaxy brained a little too much. I mean, it sounds like you're taking a close look at your cumulative own. I assume you're taking a close look at your projected points and your projected ceiling as well. As long as you're not sacrificing an egregious amount of ceiling, then you did your job. When I was building my lineups yesterday, the optimal lineup I saw had 220 ceiling points, and most of my lineups were in the 185 to 195 range for projected points. This lineup here, I had 81 projected cumulative own, and that definitely came in less. But I don't have to worry about galaxy braining because I'm sitting here staring at the projected ceiling, and I know it had a pretty good projected ceiling. So as long as you're also double checking those projections, I think when you worry about a galaxy brain is if you're hand building a lineup and all of a sudden you go and add up the projected ceiling and it's over leveraged and it projects for 150 ceiling points. And it's like, okay, the optimal has 70 more ceiling projected points. Then I think you're in dicey territory. Let's see what won the big spy here. Big spy, the bald Polish wonder, 210 points, ran away with it. Aaron Rodgers really got steamed. Wow, 17.8%. Jeff Wilson and James Robinson. My God, James Robinson at 65%. I will fade James Robinson at 65% every day of the week. Look at this lineup. Brandon Cooks, Devontae Parker, Gabe Davis, Mark. This is a wild lineup. So it's the chalk team with an Aaron Rodgers stack and Mark Andrews bring back. Wow. And then Steelers defense. That's the contrarian play. The Steelers defense at 3%. I hadn't looked at first place lineups other than that Milli Maker team. Definitely one of those weeks I'm not going to win if the winning lineups look like this. Yeah, this is a good question. So, I have two theories on TPS. Do we have a theory why Rodgers went from 2.7 projected ownership to mid-teens in every contest? Let's see. So my thought on two reasons why this could have happened. Um, the one that's most logical to me is Devonte Adams became incredibly popular. And we've seen this happen in reverse directions. We all remember the Devonta Smith surprising chalk week, and it was because Jalen Hurts was projecting as one of the most popular quarterbacks. And yet the ownership projections on his pass catchers was coming in low. Then it happened again with a Justin Herbert to Mike Williams week. Mike Williams was projected a little lower than we thought. All of a sudden he comes in at 25% because everyone was playing Justin Herbert. And we kind of all filed that away, right? We talked about that. Let's file this away as a lesson. When there's a really chalky quarterback and his pass catchers aren't projecting for a ton of ownership, one of those is probably going to come along for the ride just because people are going to want to stack. And my theory is the inverse happened here with Adams. Once all this value opened up on this slate, once everyone was moving off of Diggs, off of Debo, all to just get up to Devontae Adams, and obviously Cooper Kupp getting removed from the slate impacted that as well. Everyone said, okay, I have all this money. I have Devontae Adams in my lineup. Why don't I just stack him with Aaron Rodgers? So to me, this feels like the inverse of the quarterback chalk bringing along the wide receiver one or tight end one chalk with him. And it felt like Devontae Adams brought Aaron Rodgers along for the ride because no one else, I guess outside of Kyler and Josh Allen, there wasn't a ton of super attractive quarterback play. So the Rodgers stuff kind of checks out to me. I disagree with this. I disagree with this in that you don't need them all to hit their projected ceiling to win a tournament, but Dawson Knox and Diggs could definitely hit it. And I think you could argue 3 Bills could hit a projected ceiling. We've seen them put up really crooked numbers, 45, points. And if it is concentrated, like if you take one of the two of Gabe Davis's touchdowns and you give one to Knox and one to Stephon Diggs, well, you could argue at Singletary's salary, Diggs then has 2 touchdowns, Knox has a touchdown, that they're all in the 85 percentile of their range of outcomes. So I disagree with that. I think on a team like the Bills, there's only a few offenses that could actually support 3 ceiling skill position players, the Bucks, and the Bills probably. I definitely think they can. And that was the only reason I was willing to do it and why I normally wouldn't do that. But because of this slate and because of that offense, I did think that 3 skill position players had a ceiling in that offense. Nick says it was also a very difficult week for ownership projections with all of the moving parts. Yeah, it was. And I was saying on Tilt Space, I felt bad for the people in the live final and stuff just because it was a wonky week from a process standpoint. I didn't update any of my stuff until late Saturday. And then even then, I didn't really build any lineups until Sunday, right before the show. I built about maybe 15 to 20 minutes before going on just to start fiddling with stuff because I did not want to get anchored to anything with so much news coming down the pipeline. It ended up not being a ton of late breaking news after all of the reshuffling of games and all the initial COVID stuff. I mean, we had Zach Moss inactive, which helped me feel a lot more comfortable about the Singletary play. And then we also had Ty Johnson inactive, which made me feel slightly more confident about Michael Carter. But other than that, the slate did not get flipped on its head again after, Saturday evening. It was basically just the Tyler Huntley news. But yeah, it was a weird week as far as there wasn't enough content set, kind of condensing chalk either. I know when I did my show with JM to Win, we didn't even talk about the slate because there was no point to doing it. So yeah, it was a weird week as far as kind of upending everyone's usual process. Let's see here. Let me look at a couple of my other squads here. I also had a very similar kind of lineup to my Bills one here. One sec, got to get shared screen. With the Cardinals. Here we go. Let's see. So this was a Kyler Murray, Chase Edmonds, Christian Kirk. Didn't do a bring back here. We had a version of this team on the tilt space where Leone got us on Amon-Ra St. Brown. That was obviously pretty sharp. Had a Michael Carter one-off here. Had a James O'Shaughnessy one-off. And then Judy, Deebo Samuel, 49ers. I believe I let this one ride. I need to check my spreadsheet to see if I pivoted off of this. Because I was so behind early. Once the Murray, Edmonds, Carter, all of this flopped. I actually think I left this one because I knew I had the Chase Judy mini, and then I had Deebo in the 49ers D, and I knew none of these guys were going to be super popular. So I think I let this ride. But yeah, just another one there where pretty okay with some of these percentages. I was talking with Leone before lock and asking him his thoughts on Christian Kirk coming in at his projected ownership about 20%. He thought it was a neutral play there, and I agreed with that. So he comes in at 16.6%. I mean, Christian Kirk had the 7th highest projected ceiling on the slate for wide receivers, which just goes to speak how devoid of ceiling this slate was. So getting him at that price tag at 16.6% felt fine. Michael Carter, I think I knew he was going to be around 20%. I don't know if I love it at 28%. He also ran kind of poor in that the Jets had a lead for a good part of the game and we're just using Tevin Coleman. So I don't know. I don't love it at 28%. You also didn't get the right game script there, but running back was so gross that I didn't mind eating a little bit of chalk there. Obviously, wish I would have just had multiple Donta Foreman's instead of the Michael Carter play, but that's how it goes. So many anchors in the lineups yesterday. Those are anchors, Jeff. Those are anchors. We don't call those snowflakes. It's all about positivity here. I haven't gotten to go through the DK live final results. Lundar says a lot of lineups I wouldn't have made, and not in an impressive way, more of a what the hell were you thinking way. Yeah. I didn't see a bunch of those. I saw Whistles Go Woo's lineup. He had the 3 running back lineup early. Yeah, I'll have to take a look at those. Let's see here. Brady says, not sure which I'm more curious about, how much in the doghouse Claypool is or how you get 12 receiving yards without getting a reception point. I saw that too. I was looking at the box score this morning when I was writing up a recap of that game. And I was like, I did not know how that happened. But yeah, and maybe you could get your hand in the dirt more and say, Claypool was a bad play because he was in the doghouse. I hadn't seen any chatter that actually indicated that could be the case. And again, he did have a red zone fade that got broken up. It wasn't like he was completely annexed from the offense there. So yeah, I don't know. I thought Claypool was a nice play at that ownership, especially with Deontay Johnson getting some steam. And I do think there are versions of that game where it looks more like the Ravens-Packers game and you get a 30-30 game there. So not too many regrets about that one. I did have another lineup here. Maybe that was on the tilt space. This was my red zone team that initially this Garoppolo, Patterson, Ayuk was the Huntley, MVS, and Adams. So basically the naked Ravens with 2 Green Bay bring back. Once I was buried early here, I ended up pivoting that. So this one, I had the other mini correlation. So I did a Donta Foreman with Chase Claypool. And in this one, I did a Julio Jones with Chase Claypool. So this lineup was just looking like a disaster early. It was unfortunate because I hit on the Texans D here. They had a decent score, but then I knew I needed to get a little crazy with things. So I kept the mix in Noah Fant mini correlation here, and then kind of blew up the Adams stuff because I just didn't want to be eating a 50% Adams when I needed to make up a ton of ground. So yeah, this is another lineup that just a disaster from a points perspective, fine from an ownership perspective, but that's how it goes. Yeah, Judy and Jones crushed my week. Was pretty stoked with the ownership on both of those guys. I mean, Julio Jones was essentially the same play as last week. He was our GPP cover boy last week, caught some steam, didn't perform well. And so then you get him in the same spot, same price, much lower ownership, and he doesn't hit. He leaves the game early. And I'm happy to have the conversation about how we can't play Julio Jones because he's an old dustball who gets hurt every game. But that's just how it goes. Justin says he's excited to play Nick Mullins in lineups today. Yes, I am getting excited for these Showdown contest. Like I said, I'll be live probably around 7:45 tonight for a Showdown cram. And then I will post the leverage plays for the Raiders-Browns game in the Run the Sims channel in our Deposit Kingdom Discord. I'll post that a little after inactives. So that'll be what time's that game? 5? Is it at 5? So those inactives will be out around 3:30. So I'll post those in the Discord around 4 p.m. Tyler is tilting the Dak stack without Schultz and Lazard to miss TDs. Yeah, the Dak stuff was interesting. I built 3 lineups yesterday, scaled back. I think if I was, building more, 4 lineups, if I build 4 lineups, I probably am building a Dak double stack. But he was just quite out, or just a smidge outside of my pool as far as Allen, Kyler, Huntley initially. But yeah, the Dak stuff is rough right now. They're just spreading the ball around. I believe I was reading Karane's walkthrough, and he was talking about how CeeDee Lamb isn't even playing in 2 wide receiver sets, or at least he wasn't heading into yesterday's game. And then obviously Schultz popping up. So everything really spread around there between the 3 pass catchers and the tight ends. I mean, that definitely provides opportunity for GPP stuff, but the team also just isn't getting pushed right now. And they are wanting to establish it in a lot of games. So without the Giants able to push them, it was a little harder for me to click that, but I feel your tilt. I feel your tilt there on the Schultz TDs. Josh, you got a long day of defending your boy Julio Jones, man. I think you need to go on a campaign. You need a Julio Jones campaign because he's not pulling well right now. Public sentiment on Julio Jones is down bad. Let's check out the Deposit Kingdom tournament. I tossed my Josh Allen team in this contest. Let's see who took this down. This is where I always read people's names and mess it up. Clacciato. Very nice team here. 191.2 points. For those listening to the audio version, I will read the team. Tyler Huntley, Najee Harris, Devin Singletary, MBS, Devontae Parker, Gabe Davis, Mark Andrews, Devontae Adams. So just a really nice stack here as far as the Huntley, Mark Andrews, and then bring it back with MBS and Adams. Love that play. Loading up on 2 Bills there, Singletary and Gabe Davis. You eat the Parker chalk. Najee at 7%, I think is a nice play. And then getting up to Cowboys D at 3,600. This is a nice lineup. I like how it is picking just a few spots to be unique and doing that at running back and then concentrating on that stack with Huntley. And then I think the interesting thing for me, because you get Gabe Davis's 2 touchdowns early and Devin Singletary and the Cowboys D, I completely agree with your decision to let Devontae Adams chalk ride here. And also you have some outs knowing Huntley's not going to be too popular. Maybe Andrews comes in lower. This field's pretty sharp. Mark Andrews comes in at 20%. But yeah, I think this was a very smart, constructed lineup. Congratulations to Clacciato on the Deposit Kingdom win here. Steven says he got 10th. Mr. Bad here. Oh boy. So this was Huntley, Andrews, Adams as well, but the Chase Claypool, and it sounds like he was deciding between Chase Claypool and Brandon Cooks. Look at the Chase Claypool ownership. What was he? 10.6% in the Big Spy. So he comes in 17% in the Deposit Kingdom. The GPP bros are always out in the Deposit Kingdom tournament. Chase Edmonds, Devin Singletary, James Robinson at running back. I obviously loved Edmonds and Singletary yesterday, so I like using both of those. Eating the chalk on Parker and James Robinson. Not my cup of tea, but it worked out for you. And Cowboys D, another common theme at the top of the leaderboard here. I'm running out of coffee. I'm down bad. Down bad. Got to go make more coffee after this. Let's see. Kyle says he actually cashed in the Deposit Kingdom. Epic Daddy 0. You gotta tell me. Oh, I guess I can search here. Epic Daddy 0, 71st place. Very nice. Oh my, how did you guys get on Braxton Berrios? I saw a couple lineups with Braxton Berrios yesterday. How did you get on Braxton Berrios? You're sick. I love it. 1.8%. You get that rushing TD at the goal line. I kind of love the Galbrain nature of this. 2 Jets without any of the Dolphins chalk. I think that was a fun way to play it. You have the Rodgers, Adams, Andrews bring back double tight end there. Kyle Pitts, Ayuk, Mini, and Jets defense. I like this. I kind of like your onslaughting against the Dolphins chalk with 3 Jets, knowing that they could hang in there and put up points. I think that's a nice lineup, Epic Daddy. It feels really weird saying Epic Daddy out. That was a very nice lineup, Epic Daddy. Joshua says he got 342nd in the Deposit Kingdom tournament. Let's see here. Nick Sanchez. Now, this was the baller move by Nick Sanchez. If it's not a week that you think you can win, you don't even have to put a product out on the field. You just wave the white flag early. A further rake-free tournament. Trill Crosby here. Kyler Murray to Zach Ertz and Chase Edmonds. I like that stack. You have the Mixon in Judy Mini. I like that. Claypool and or a one-off Claypool. Josh Reynolds as the bring back to your Kyler stack. And then Marquise Brown. I'm not sure if that was a late pivot or not, but to me, this is a good lineup. I have no issues with this list lineup. I think it was constructed in a pretty sharp way. Has the nice correlation, not eating any of that chalk. This is just kind of one of those shrug your shoulders and move on. I thought Zach Ertz and Dawson Knox were both good plays. I used Dawson Knox in my Allen stack. Didn't use Ertz in my Kyler stack just because I ended up prioritizing Christian Kirk. But I think Ertz was a really nice play at that percent. Just when the Judy and Claypool and the anchors come out, the Cardinals just completely flop. Not much you can do. Mark got 33rd in the Deposit Kingdom tournament. Let's see here. 148.94 points. Mark's team: Tua, James Robinson, Michael Carter, Christian Kirk, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Parker, Kittle, Adams. Steelers defense. A lot of chalk in this lineup, but we have the Tua, Parker with the Michael Carter correlation. This Christian Kirk, Amon-Ra St. Brown mini is so nice. That was in the winning Milli Maker lineup as well. You eat the James Robinson chalk, pay up for George Kittle. and Devontae Adams. And I think after this early start with Kirk and Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tua, Parker all hitting, James Robinson hitting, just playing the best plays there with George Kittle and Devontae Adams late makes a ton of sense. Nice team there by Mark. Yeah, that makes sense. Joshua circling back to his lineup saying Hollywood was a late swap. Had Jeff Wilson and San Francisco D in there. That is definitely the move. Definitely the move. Got to give yourself a chance on Hollywood to outscore Jeff Wilson. And the beauty of late swap is if Hollywood Brown has the Mark Andrews game or whatever, you probably do cash. You probably do jump a bunch of teams. It didn't break that way yesterday, but definitely have to pull the trigger on the late swap there. So congratulations to all of you guys in the Deposit Kingdom tournament. We'll be sure to run that back again this week. Like I said, I will be back tonight for a Showdown cram. Also will be around at 2:30 p.m. Eastern for Splash Play with Chris Spags. We will recap this week. Even though I am done recapping it, I am emotionally done with week 15. The shows must go on. I think that is it, guys. It seems like a lot of us had rough weeks. It's all right. Lift your heads up. We have the week 16 slate that will be on tap here soon enough. And hopefully we have a little less COVID craziness too, and we can get in our usual reps and rhythms and process because it's comforting. It's comforting to have our routines and COVID threatening to upend that. So thank you guys for hanging out this morning. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday. Good luck on the Showdown slates today, and we will see you around.